Welcome to Dunsmore Moving Dirt. We're out here on the next project. Got a pretty big stock tank, and I'll call it a stock tank, but there's no cattle out here, so most of this is just for recreational use, hunting, wildlife, and stuff like that. I am standing in a big lake, which is probably a 7-acre surface when it's full. And I have my microphone on, and I hope the sound is coming in because it's windy again. But anyway, I looked at this. I was out here on this place, probably a year and a half ago, and cleared some fence rows and some hunting lanes and stuff for some feed patches. And he talked about this tank, the landowner did, and didn't really know what to do. And I thought it was drier than it is now back 2 years ago. The only water there was right next to the dam. This little old finger wasn't even in here then, but it's an old tank dam. I mean, it's really old. And the trouble is, it seeps. Right now, I was up here two and a half weeks ago, and this little neck had water in it all the way up to where I come across with that dozer. And the landowner said in January it was plumb full, which when it is, it backs water up to them big trees up there. There's a fence, and then all of this was full. It was right up, I don't know how close to the spillway it is, but he said there was water back up there, and there's another neck that goes around over there where he's got a little cabin and trailer and stuff, and that was full of water. So in just 3 months' time, it's down to this right here. And when I come out here to look at it and try to figure out what to do with it, I walked up here behind the dam and looked, and that dam's probably 600 feet, 650 foot long, and it's seeping all the way across the back, except for maybe from that big tree to the end, which is the spillway, and then from maybe that little tree to the big tree. It was water all behind the dam, and then the tank is probably, that water's probably 5 foot deep right next to the dam, and it won't hold another 5 foot when it's full. So at the most, it's 10 foot deep up there, and of course this is probably 4 to 5 foot deep until it goes down to here. Then there's no water at all up through here. With the budget that he's wanting to spend, and since that is leaking all the way across that dam, you would just pretty much have to just destroy that dam completely. And that's just, you'd have to cut it first and try to drain all the water out and let it go like that for a year with no water standing in here where you could get in there, and then you'd have to clear all of the trees off of it, dig it out, and see what's causing it to seep. And it's just expensive, and then still you wouldn't have nothing after you did all that. You'd have to put it back and try to get you a hole here, and the best thing to do with it is leave it alone. There's a road, the fence is right behind the tank dam, and that's a different property back there. They've got a road that they can both come in the same entrance, and that the fence is split, and they just got a little old culvert back there in that road. And if you was to cut this dam to where this would drain out, it would blow that road plumb out of there, because they'd have to put probably 2 48-inch culverts in there to even begin to handle the water that comes down this draw. Where the brush, well, I'm going to say from where the tallest brush is up on top of that hill, all of that, there's about 350 to 400 acres that drains into this watershed here where this is at. So there's plenty enough water coming in here, but if it leaks out that fast, it's not really worth it. From the looks of the dam, I believe it could have been dug with a scraper years ago, because man, that's just a long pit, and they come and that dam is just straight as an arrow. And who knows what happened when they started building the dam. I mean, there's big trees back there, there's willow trees. It could have never had a big core dug in it, and you just never can tell, but you know it's seeping, and that's not right. And this country up here's got some pretty good clay in it, so who knows what happened. But anyway, the next best thing to do is just leave this alone, and it will continue to catch water from a draw that goes up that way. He's got him a duck blind over there, and he can see water from his cabin because this thing comes around and makes a curve, and he said ducks like to hang up in there. So with the budget that he's got, I can dig a round hole basically where that double flag is there, up there. A big round hole. Bigger than most of them that I dig. And what that'll do, that'll get him some deep water that'll be here longer than this is going to be here. It will spill up here by this deer blind, which when I was out here last time I had my level. I don't today. I just dropped my bulldozer off. I'm going to set a few flags and come back Monday and dig my test pit. But the spillway is going to be over here by this deer blind. And believe it or not, it's a foot higher than the spillway for this thing. So already I'm gaining him a foot of water from here to his fence without digging nothing but just raising the spillway up a foot. And this really won't be a dam. It's going to be a round hole, which it'll be in the ground, but I can put a little bit of water up against this spoil without worrying about it seeping. I'll topsoil it. I'll peel all this topsoil out from under it, put it here, and probably walk it in a little bit better than what I usually do, but it's not going to have that much water. You can usually put 3 to 4 foot of water up against that and not have to worry about nothing as long as it's tied into the ground good here. So, and this thing, if it ever was, I'm thinking that one time or another, I believe where that one big tree is right there, that was the end of the dam, because there's a notch, there's a part that sticks out like that used to be the spillway, and they've added that all the way over to there trying to raise the spillway up on this thing. So there again, they've had trouble with it, wanting to try to get more water in it years ago. So they raised the spillway up, and over there, there's just a little over 3 foot ditch that they've got for this thing to spill. So you can imagine 400 acres of drainage going through a little over 3 foot wide ditch. It's not very good. If it does it very much, it's just going to wipe everything out behind the dam. So that's no good either. So this will serve him 2 purposes. He'll have some long-term water. It'll have some backup water for his hunting. This will still have water in it when this thing's full. When the one I build's full, it'll drain into this, and it'll catch water from that. It'll still drain into this one. And then this thing will just that dam will just be like a filter. It'll just let this water out slowly where they can keep a road back there. So, and he'll still have, when everything's full, he'll still have water back here for wildlife also. So what I'm probably going to do, I can't carry this camera around and carry a tape measure, so I'm probably just going to sit you on the dozer blade, and I can talk to you with the little fuzzy mouse here. So maybe if it's working, see about getting this laid out. So we'll let y'all see that as we start to put some flags down. Bye. We got one day of rest from the wind. That was yesterday. It was a nice day. I was still getting the dozers ready to go. Got that guard put back over the hoses and got it painted, and it looks pretty good. I need to still do a little adjusting to it. It don't quite hook like I thought it would, but it's hooked on one side and bolted in and not all being up, so that's a good thing. Sure, a lot of hog hair right here. Something must have got a hog, or he shot a hog. And I'd like to kind of use this as one side of the hole. I don't want to have to dig up on that high ground. I want to stay in this bowl right here. I'm going to have to just set my tape out. See, there was never no hole dug up here anyway, because all these stumps are trees that when it did back up water, it killed everything. $89. The tanks they usually build are 162 foot across the top. This is 178. So 62 off 78. $16 bigger is equivalent to 1,600 more yards of dirt. This one should be a 6,600. The other ones I built are 5,000, so 1,600 more yards of dirt. All your dirt's in the top. Like I said, 8 foot of these things. You move them out 10, 12 foot, you added a lot of dirt to this thing. Oh, let me try to guess at what a 90 is. Where's my flag? There it is. It's supposed to be 90 if you put your arms on 2 points, stands your center line. When you bring your arms together, that's pretty close to being a 90. That's what an old timer told me. Older than me, so he was really an old timer. I like it. I don't know where to leave my dozer. I don't really want to. I don't ever like to leave it on the grass when there's a chance it might catch on fire, because that's just not a good deal, even though it is insured. I might leave it right there on that little old knot. It's not supposed to rain, so if it was, I would not leave it down in this hole. Then we'll walk back to the truck and go home. Okay, went ahead and made a round around it. Of course, I've already knocked down one flag, a clod rolled on it, but got the edge marked off. Got me a little spot peeled off here to park it. Here is the shield that I got back on there. Put a little paint on it. Got it bolted on. This one little prong over here doesn't quite fit like that little prong. And that looks like what I've got to do is, I'll do that next time I have a chance. You can see it's up away from that deal. I need to, I don't know whether to heat it and try to bend it some more. Something's still a little bit out of whack, but it's gonna serve its purpose there. It's bolted in. I got new bolts for it and got my nuts welded on the back. I could just tack a little piece of metal, pull it off, tack a little piece of metal on top of that, but that little old prong ain't going to bend down very good, and it may be that whole deal that's twisted. But anyway, that'll keep something from ripping that off. What must have happened, that little space in between there, that sucker rod, when I was backing up, I didn't know it was under, it was even nowhere around, but it must have hit the corner of that plate right there, because it pulled it back out away from the dozer. So the middle bolt was already, and it just pulled it off of that. When it did, it twisted it and bent it, but it don't look too bad with a little dirt on there. So I guess we will begin our trek to the truck. It should be right over that hill. That little bit of rock here, it looks like it's just a little old knob right there. I just, when I dig my test hole, I'll try to get maybe right through the center usually, and that way I'll be down in this low place to see what's down here. Like I say, that's good topsoil. Now I'll peel this out of here 30 to 40 foot wide, peel that out, put it on that end, and I'll use it for topsoil or a little kicker or something. I'm not worried about nothing seeping through this hill here. It's not gonna seep uphill, it'll seep downhill if it seeps anywhere. So. Hope my deal's still on. I think it is. Hard to see when the sun's shining. See, there wasn't even a hole dug way down here because them were stumps that are growing in there. They would have been dug out. I think if a bulldozer would have dug that hole, Now that bottle must have gotten hot before. It almost closed it. Now that glass has got to get hot to do that. Old Coke bottle, let's see what it says on the bottom of it. From Wichita Falls, Texas. See, I don't think they could have got enough dirt digging that close to the dam to build that dam without it being a scraper. Because they went the entire length of that hole. The duck blind. See, this neck goes a long way back up there. And there's another little dam right there, a little tank someone did big years ago. And it holds a little water and it spills around that side where them reeds are and comes into here. And he likes that because that puts water up there where he can see it from his little campsite up there. He said he might spend a little bit of time just deepening that little hole there and pushing it over the dam. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to get my feet wet. Now this little old neck here is pretty deep in water. If it's up to here, that's 6 foot deep, 5. It's like I say, it'll keep catching water. And it'll just keep leaking that water out. But there might have been a house here at one time. Because there's some metal right there in that ditch. This could have been an old homestead back in here. Oh, they've made that their shooting deal. You can see how that looks just like a long pit. You can see probably where it was dug out with the scrapers. They dig, turn around, come down the dam, come down, build the dam, go back in the pit and dig. You just couldn't have. And it's probably pretty steep too. Because I don't think you could have built all that dam with a hole just that wide there with the bulldozer. Yeah, that's what they've did. They've made them it looked like it used to be a fire pit, didn't it? That may be their stove. That's stainless steel. Cook hamburgers or steaks. What we got here? A treasure. I bet that was a cover for a stove. WB Enders Oak. Huh. Probably come from that house that used to be back here. I come across a lot of old homesteads and stuff, and I find all kinds of stuff buried, and usually they had a trash pile or something, a junk pile, and it'd always be edge of a wash or something. That's how they stopped washes. Of course, stuff they throwed away 60, 70 years ago is antiques now. I found old bottles and parts of stuff. Ford running board has the Ford insignia or name on it off a Model A or T. Or found old axles and never dug up the pot of gold yet. Aha, I see a truck. Okay, well, Monday we'll start digging. That's just a little bit of what I do before I get started. Got to do, like I say, I'll still dig a test hole before I get serious. So, I'm gonna hop in the little truck, raise my ramps up before I back up, figure out how to get turned around. I don't want to run over no more in his wheat than I have to. I'm making back up, pull in here, pull up there, then back around to here. Sound like a plan. So, appreciate y'all watching this channel. If you hadn't subscribed, wish you do that. And hit the like button, share it with all your friends. So, we'll be back out here Monday and let y'all see some of that as we dig a hole. So, thanks for watching. Bye.